commonly hear it. That is the face I will never forget, but most likely will forget. Research shows memories can change over time and affect what you remember, especially during an intense situation.
9 on your side's Priscilla Casper shows the reliability of eyewitness testimony and how it affects who's put behind bars.
A crime can happen in the blink of an eye. If you happen to see it, you're an eyewitness. But how reliable is your testimony?
You can't guarantee what somebody will see, even if it's passing right in front of their eyes.
When crimes happen so fast, are you able to recall what the person was wearing, what they were doing, what their face looked like? A psychology expert at the University of Arizona says eyewitness testimony is not as reliable as it used to be. And if you have your attention on something else, like me talking, and a crime is happening right before your eyes, well, how much of that suspect will you remember? Professor Mary Peterson says during traumatic events, memory is impaired when under stress.
And when people are anxious, they tend to move their eyes around a lot, unless there is something that causes them to fix on it. So I think this use of see is hard to square with what's happening. We're all in the same scene, but we're not all seeing the same thing.
Detective Robin Creon with the Pima County Sheriff's Department says since eyewitnesses are not in the same place at the same time, their memories may be different.
One witness would have part of one part of the event, another witness another part of the event. Essentially what you're doing is talking to everybody that had any observation at all, and then you begin to put the puzzle together with those recollections.
Those recollections, something that's a factor in determining if someone is innocent or not. According to the Arizona Justice Project, the organization receives about 350 new client requests every year. In the past 6 years, 16 of their clients have been exonerated. For private investigator Randy Downer, he says it's common for people who witness the same scene to have perceived details very differently.
I mean, I've interviewed thousands of people on car accidents, and so it is common for me to take statements from witnesses and have two people explain the dynamics of the accident one way, and the third person saw something entirely different. And yet they're all telling the truth.
Downer says that's from something called the witness focus effect.
You can imagine if you're in the bank and somebody has a gun and they're pointing it at the teller and you're standing off to the side, you're watching that gun to make sure it doesn't get pointed at you rather than the face of the suspect.
Although each eyewitness's focus can be on something different, Professor Peterson says memories are not permanent and can change over time. She says an eyewitness's memory can be challenged when they speak with other eyewitnesses because they question their own memory.
They will quite often say things like, I will never forget that face because it was so traumatic for me, I saw that face. But science shows us that they are sometimes mistaken, that that person whose face they're remembering couldn't even possibly have been in that scene.
Statistics have shown that the confidence level of the person you're talking to doesn't really matter sometimes. There's very little difference in the accuracy of their recollection.
Detective Creon says to help limit eyewitness error, they create a relaxed atmosphere for the eyewitness during lineups.
We want them to be at ease and calm and explain to them that the individual we're trying to identify may or may not be in these photographs.
The department also produces a neutral setting by using DMV photos to create lineups that don't reflect any criminal activity like mugshots.
We consider eyewitness recollection very important in investigations, and even though it may not be as accurate as the person we're talking to would like it to be, it is a very important component, and every little bit helps to paint the bigger picture of what actually happened when we construct a crime scene.
Priscilla Casper, KGUN 9 on your side.